Good morning. Thank you very, very much for joining us here. Time for Maximize Living Radio with Good Life Family Chiropractic, Maximize Living Chiropractor, Dr. Jake Tucker. Every Saturday morning we are here because Dr. Jake is very concerned about your health. Welcome, Dr. Jake.
Yeah, good morning, Dale.
Spent some time on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation this past week, and not a day goes by that the subject of diabetes doesn't come up. The subject of cancer comes up. The subject of diet comes up. Nutrition, posture, just good health, good habits. We're going to talk about all that today as you focus on cancer. Fair to say that we're going to continue the theme of cancer here for the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, and if cancer is something that's affecting you or your family, your loved ones, you're going to want to be with us every single Saturday for the next several weeks because we are changing it up. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it's the 1 month when cancer in general gets the most attention. And it rightfully gets the most attention because it is the second leading cause of death in the United States right now. It's the #1 cause of death in women. More women die of cancer than any other cause of death, and more women die of breast cancer than any other cause of cancer. And so we want to do what we can, not just to point out the dangers of cancer, but point out that it's actually a lifestyle preventable disease in most cases. And I want to go through and I want to teach each of you the keys necessary to avoid it, because the best cure for cancer is just to never to get it in the first place. But before I get into that, I want to highlight one of the most amazing people that I've had the experience of knowing just in the last month. She walked into my office a month ago, and she's actually a radio listener. Luann heard us on air, and she'd been listening for several months together, all of our shows, and she just loved what she was hearing. But Luann's story is a little bit interesting because she was actually hit by a car while riding her lawnmower at 65 miles an hour. Thrown over 200 feet, broke multiple bones in her body, like bones separating from muscles, separating from joints. It's a miracle that she survived. She went through all sorts of surgeries and came out of it. This is her 12-year anniversary, and was just continuing to suffer with a myriad of symptoms. I mean, you can imagine when you get hit by a car at 65 miles an hour and get thrown that far, just everything gets disrupted. But she listened to the show, and eventually, I guess I wore her down. Just the stuff I was saying made sense. It resonated with her, and like so many callers, they just need to hear a story that's so much like themselves. And I don't expect that we have a long list of people that have been hit by a car like that in her story, but her attitude about it was so amazing. She called in, said, I wanted an appointment. We brought her in, we sat her down, we looked at all of her symptoms. We looked for cause in every single situation. We found the cause in every single situation. And she said, just knowing the cause, walking out of there without even having me treat her on the first day, because I don't do any treatments until I've had a chance to evaluate your exam findings and evaluate those x-rays. But even just walking out of the exam, knowing that we had found the cause, started to reduce her symptoms, because she had neck pain, she had back pain, she had headaches, and she actually had radiating pain that ran down her arms into her hands. And it was just really amazing how those symptoms started to recede as she began to receive that peace of mind from knowing what the cause of the problem was. And then when we started to address it, since the time when we started, she has only had one headache. One headache. And she came into the office that day. We adjusted her, and within 30 minutes it was gone. Whereas in the past, she might have experienced that headache for the next day, the next 24 hours total. And we've been able to continue to make those changes and maintain those changes to the point where she doesn't even have any complaints anymore. And that's exactly what I want for each of you. So if you're sitting there and you've been listening to the show and you're just, I don't know why you're waiting, but you've just been waiting for something. Well, this is it. Call the office right now, 531-289-7100. You're going to have to leave a message because I'm actually out of town. We're recording this early. I'm in Orlando, Florida. Leave a message for me. Say, Dr. Jake, I need that appointment. And we're going to give that to you for $65. Years and years, it was something that she would see just take loved ones. And this is a very common problem. It's over a third of women in the United States will get cancer, and half of men. So it's over a third total of Americans. It's approaching that 50% mark. And so if you don't have it right now, you know somebody that has it or had it or died from it. For me, Great Aunt Nancy, I've got a couple of friends that have Facebook posts running right now. I lost a friend in chiropractic school to cancer. I mean, she was tough, like she was pushing through it, but it beat her. It beat her, and that's what happens in most cases. Our 5-year survival rate for most of these cancers is abysmal. And it's time to stand up and do something. It's time to stand up and get to the cause of these. And every single one of these cases, the people that I'm seeing that are beat by cancer, they aren't fighting the cause of the cancer. They see the cancer itself as the problem, where the research is showing us time and time again, especially in the latest research, the cancer isn't the problem. The cancer is a symptom of the problem. And that's the same message I'm going to give you every single week. We don't address symptoms, we address causes. And so I want to get you guys the most common cancer risk. If you are doing one of these things, or especially if you're doing multiple of these things, your risk for cancer goes through the roof. And so you were talking about the Indian reservation and diabetes. It's not just the Indians. It's not just the Native Americans. It's not just African Americans. It's not those other people. It's me. It's us. It's us here in the United States, because right now our rate of diabetes and prediabetes is the exact same as our cancer rate. If you have diabetes or prediabetes, your risk of cancer goes through the roof. This is the number one risk for cancer in the United States. It's also the number one risk for heart disease. The number one risk of chronic disease is being in that prediabetic state. And how you get there is by eating the standard American diet. The standard American diet is loaded with sugar. And it's common knowledge, common research. We know that cancer only eats sugar. Cancer does not eat your organs. Cancer does not eat your blood. Cancer does not eat you. It eats sugar. It grows off of sugar, and then by doing that, once it gets to a certain size, it depletes you of the energy necessary to run the rest of your body's vital functions. And so if you don't eat sugar, cancer cannot grow. Cancer cannot grow. And so if you've gotten yourself to a pre-diabetic state, if you look more like an apple or a pear than a human being, then you are at a high risk of developing cancer, any type of cancer, just because of the way that it grows in your body. It's an insulin problem, it's a sugar problem, and the standard American eats 170 pounds of sugar a year. And Dale and I, we don't eat that much.
That's more than my body weight.
No, that's half a pound of sugar a day, just a little less than half a pound of sugar a day. That's basically taking a cup and filling that up with sugar and just downing it. Can you imagine? None of us could. We don't do that. And it's not because we're actually pouring that sugar into a cup over the course of a day. Some of us might add a teaspoon or a tablespoon to our coffee. But for the most part, where that's coming from, 2/3 of it is processed food.
It starts with the cereal.
It starts with the breakfast cereal, because we've demonized fat, and in order to make our food taste good, especially the processed food, they've gone in, removed the fat, put sugar in so that you continue to eat it. And the reason you can keep going back isn't necessarily because you want more or slick marketing, but because that sugar is actually addictive. It's just as addictive as cocaine. It lights up the whole brain. All the pleasure centers in the brain light up when you consume sugar. And so it's actually harder to get off of than heroin. It's harder to get off of than cocaine because of the way it affects your brain chemicals. But I'm telling you, it's the number one most important step if you want to decrease your risk for cancer. Number 2, your parents had it. And this is key. I almost think we should take a break and come back to this one,
okay.
Though, because you think I'm going to say, oh yeah, it's in your genes. I'm not going to say it's in your genes, but you're going to have to come back right after we take this break.
Find out what Dr. Jake says about cancer when we continue on Maximize Living Radio in a moment. Here we go. That's a good tease.
Yep.
All right. On Maximize Living Radio, Dr. Jake focusing on cancer today. 7 top cancer risks, and we are at number 2.
Yeah, number 2. And I might not get to all 7 of these today because I could go for about an hour on each topic. So I'm really cutting myself short here. Let me just throw out there. On Saturday, October 21st at 9 a.m., this is not a game day, we're going to be at Epic Church and we're going to be doing our Cancer Killers Makeover. We only have room for 175. I expect the room to be completely packed out. And if you're a radio listener today and you're like, Dr. Jake, I don't want to get cancer, call right now, 531-289-7100. The price for tickets is $50. If you're one of the first 5 callers, I'm going to give you that ticket for $10. And that's going to include everything. You're going to be getting a VIP ticket. I'm even going to give you a free guest pass so that you can bring someone along with you, because you might be sitting here saying, Dr. Jake, I want to be there because my best friend or my sister or my mom, they have cancer, and I don't want them to die from it. If you want to bring them, if you call right now, not only are you getting the $50 ticket for $10, but you're getting a free guest pass to bring that person along with you that's being most directly affected by it. But that's Saturday, October 21st at 9 a.m. I'm going to spend 2+ hours going through all of these causes of cancer, the best treatments for cancer, and then how to correct cancer.
Address of Epic Church, Dr.
Epic
Jake?
Church, it's at the corner of 70th and Pine Lake.
Gotcha.
Between Pine Lake and Highway 2 down there. And I do not know the exact address, so you can go to facebook.com/AskDrJake. You can hear Luann's testimony, her video testimony, see Luann, get to interact with her, and you can also see the event posted on there as well. But you get those tickets right now, $10. That's the pre-purchase price.
First 5 callers.
Yes.
531-289-7100.
Yep. All right. So number 2, cancer risk. First one was diabetes, pre-diabetes. We talked about cancer, feeding off of sugar. Number 2 is that your parents had it. One of your parents, maybe even your grandparents had it. And the reason I say this is not genetics. Genetics has been almost completely ruled out of cancer, except for the field of epigenetics. Epigenetics is the way that your genes change to adapt to your environment. When you have parents that themselves got cancer, there was a cause for that cancer. Everything has a cause. It's not necessarily asking God, why did my mom get cancer? God, why did I get cancer? It is about, what did I do that caused that cancer? Because cancer follows natural laws and principles of health and healing. And when you violate those laws and principles of health and healing, your body responds naturally. The natural response to an environment filled with sugar, an environment without oxygen, and an environment that is acidic, which is the standard American environment, responds by giving more cancer. And so if your parents had it, that astronomically raises the risk that you're going to get it. Not because they gave you the genes, but because they taught you the environment for how to raise cancer. It's basically like it was another child in your family and you learned how to raise that child. So the number one key that we need to do is we need to get our epigenetics under control. We need to change our environment. We need to do the opposite of what our parents did. And whether that's being exposed to toxins because they grew up on a farm and everything was sprayed with pesticides and those got in the bloodstream and were passed down, cleansing that out, learning how to eat more fruits and vegetables, any of these things, we just need to change that environment. So continue listening, because that one covers these next several altogether. Number 3, antibiotic use. And this isn't my leg's about to fall off because I've got a staph infection that's gone gangrenous. This is my doctor thinks it may be an infection, so I'm going to take a full spectrum antibiotic for the next 30 days to see if it works. This is the type of person that thinks, I might be sick, so I need to take an antibiotic preventatively. I nicked my finger, so I'm going to put some Neosporin on it. I need to use antibacterial hand soap. All of these things, especially when added up together, they actually destroy the immune system in your gut. Your digestive system houses about 80% of your immune system. And most of the cancer treatments right now, especially the most effective ones, are targeted utilizing your immune system to travel to the cancer and fight that. But when your immune system is depleted, because most of your immune system is actually bacteria, in fact, it's more bacteria than it is actually human cells, that actually wrecks the environment. And so it's important, if you've had that, if you've done that, number one, change your mindset about it. Stop doing that, because the number one key is to stop, turn around, start getting some probiotics. Start getting foods that are rich in good bacteria, things that are cultured, things like real yogurt, not the sweetened stuff that is put on TV on the commercials, but real yogurt that has bacteria in it. Things like sauerkraut. We're mostly Germans here in Nebraska. Yeah, get some sauerkraut, real cultured sauerkraut. Kimchi is another one. Kombucha. It's a basic, to me, it tastes like Kool-Aid, but it's a cultured beverage that you can drink that has probiotics in it. And those things all add to the digestive system, add to your immune system, help you fight it off. Next, if you are the type of person that eats less than 7 servings of fruits and vegetables total in one day, on average, your risk for cancer just went up. Because the number one cause of cancer is not the sugar that we're eating. The sugar just creates the environment. It's actually the free radicals in our environment. We're constantly bombarded with free radicals. The sun shoots free radicals at us. Just going on an airplane, we get bombarded with free radicals every time we go through different levels of atmosphere. Free radicals are basically just free electrons. Free electrons, they have a negative charge, they're very small. 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 or 10,000 doesn't make that much of a difference. But when you allow those to accumulate in your body, it creates an environment that creates cancer. Cancer has to respond to that. But you have a natural defense mechanism against it. It's called antioxidants. Antioxidants. Most of us know vitamin C. Many of us know vitamin E. Some of us know selenium. There's some of these micronutrients that you need to be healthy, and we take these things when we're sick. Like most people know, you take vitamin C when you're sick, or you take vitamin C in order to prevent sickness, and that'll help you fight it off. But where those things come from are our fruits and vegetables. And the best way to get them in our diet is not a pill. It's actually to take them in through our food, because then they're alive, especially if you don't overcook them or deep fry them. But most of these things are the darker fruits and vegetables. Blueberries are loaded with it. Broccoli is loaded with it. Spinach is loaded with it. Kale is loaded with it. Brussels sprouts is loaded with it. I'm saying this list and you're going, yuck, 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 yuck. What's yuckier? Brussels sprouts or cancer? Do you want it or don't you? And your cancer doctor doesn't even think about these things, because he's not trained in it. He's trained in treating the cancer. He wants to give you chemotherapy and kill the cancer to save your life, to pull you out of the river, keep you from drowning. I don't want you getting in the river in the first place. That river is going to sweep you off your feet, because not eating these foods is easy, right? It's not easy necessarily to make Brussels sprouts or broccoli taste good. I like it. I enjoy it. But it requires, training your body, get that acquired taste. I mean, if you trained your body to like beer, you can train your body to like Brussels sprouts. It can't be any worse than that. Some of that stuff that you guys are drinking on game day, I don't even know how you put it down. But get those Brussels sprouts in there, start combating this stuff, so that you don't have to put your family through this in the future. You don't have to put your kids through having to watch you die from cancer and from the cancer treatments early. So get those fruits and vegetables every single day. I think we need to take a break.
How many more left?
We've got three, and I've got probably an hour worth of stuff to say. The next one's going to be about exercise, and I know you love exercise.
Final few minutes coming up in a moment.
Yep.
There we go. God, just thinking of Brussels sprouts. My wife cuts them in half and fries them in butter.
Yeah, no, they're awesome. I love Brussels sprouts.
They are.
Most people are like, ew, Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
No, they're good.
Yes, they are. Okay, here we go. Unfortunately, more material than time today with Dr. Jake on Maximize Living Radio here on KFOR FM 103.3, 1240 AM, rifling through the top cancer risks. Are you at number 4 or number 5?
We just got through number 4. If you're eating less than 7 total servings of fruits and veggies a day, you're putting yourself at risk for cancer, because you're not getting enough antioxidants to bind to those free radicals to keep you from getting that cancer in the first place. And if you already have cancer, you're just giving it more places to grow in your body. You're putting yourself at more risk if you're not getting that. I want to jump back to Otto von Warburg for number 5, because he didn't just win one Nobel Prize for his research on cancer. He won at least 2, and the second one is just as big as the first. He found that cancer cannot grow in an oxygenated environment. Cancer cannot survive in the presence of oxygen. It survives in an anaerobic state. And for those of you that don't know what that fancy word means, it's basically when you exercise so much that your muscles, they hurt like 2 days later. that's when lactic acid is produced. You get yourself into such a state that your body can no longer get oxygen to your muscles and you're basically just running off of lactic acid. That's an anaerobic state. But that also happens when you're just not getting oxygen through to all the cells, tissues, and organs in your body. And the only way to do that effectively is to exercise. And so if you're exercising less than 3 days a week, you're creating an environment that is unoxygenated that cancer is very primed to grow in. Very primed to grow in. Cancer is not the problem. Cancer is the symptom of the problem. The sickness, the disease, it's already building in you. It's just a matter of what label we give it to you. And in the following weeks, I'm actually going to bring in a special guest, someone that's currently working on their master's. They own a gym here in Lincoln. They're going to talk to us about the best way to exercise. But right now, if you're not exercising, just do it. Just do it. You know, I don't know who Nike sponsors right now, but just do it. Just get out there. Do something. You don't have to jump on the treadmill. You don't have to go to an hour-long class. You don't have to walk. Find something that you actually enjoy. Get involved in some sort of competition. Go play racquetball with somebody that you actually enjoy spending time with. Go for a walk with somebody that you love. All of those things are enough to start increasing the oxygen into our bodies. In the coming weeks, we're going to teach you the exact way how to boost it in the least amount of time to be most effective. So you're definitely going to want to tune back in the coming weeks. But that brings us to our last two topics, which are probably our most important too, because the latest research it points at stress as being one of the highest risk factors for all disease processes, especially cancer. And that stress can come from anywhere. It can be physical stress. I mean, you break a bone, you're in stress. You cut your arm. I sliced my middle finger open cutting apples for my son this weekend, and that put me in stress. I mean, all of a sudden, I wanted to curse out of nowhere. Like all these words coming to my mind that I hadn't said in years. But that stress, it in the short term, it can be a good thing. In the long term, it's not so good. That stress, when I cut my finger, it allowed more blood and more white blood cells to start accumulating and scab that over. My body started healing that because of the stress that it created. Now I'm not in that sympathetic, stressed out state. I'm in a parasympathetic state where we're focusing on healing, focusing on the cause of the problem. I just know that quit bumping that thing and it's going to heal. Leave it alone. It's going to heal. And my body knows what to do. Low heart rate variability is one of the biggest indicators of a stressed lifestyle. And most of you know about pulse, heart rate, and you know about blood pressure. All of those things vary. They vary just based on the amount of stress that you're under. And the best way to measure how well your body can adapt to stresses is how much you can get those things to vary. And so if you have high heart rate variability, that actually shows a healthy nervous system, that your nervous system is controlling your body well. And when you have a healthy nervous system, specifically the vagus nerve, you're not in a stressed out state. Your body is healing and functioning at 100%. And the World Health Organization, they define health as 100% function. You have to be able to adapt to stress. You can't be in a chronic state and be healthy. But if you can't get yourself out of that chronic state because there's a malfunction of the nervous system, then your body's going to start to go into this chronic disease state. For many of you, you don't have neck pain, back pain, or headaches, or it's just a way of life, or it's a malfunction of the digestive system, compromising the immune system. You have an autoimmune disorder because your heart rate variability is low, signaling that immune system or the nervous system is not functioning at 100%. We need that nervous system functioning at 100% if we want any chance of beating cancer, if we want any chance of beating heart disease, if we want any chance of beating diabetes. You cannot have a low nervous system. You cannot have a high sympathetic state and be healthy. It just does not equal health. And so if that's you, if you're suffering with any of those things, if you're like Luann and were hit by a car, if you're just in a little car crash, like so many of my patients were, just a little fender bender, and a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, like, my goodness, I've got this chronic neck pain out of nowhere. It didn't come from nowhere. Every single one of these things has a cause. I want to help you find it. Go ahead and give us a call today, 531-289-7100. We'll get you set up with that discounted exam and x-rays, just $65 for the entire visit. We'll sit down, we'll go over those together, and we'll make a plan for getting you well, because I don't want you to be in statistic. I want you to be a world beater. We're here to change the way that the people of Lincoln view and manage their health, and it starts with you.
Talking about it every Saturday morning on KFOR FM 103.3, 1240 AM, and Maximize Living Radio. Thanks, Dr. Jake.
And thank you, Dale.
There we go.